before we do anything.
It's not necessary in the budget year. You can start the
Since
budget.
when, since when they changed the rules, I don't know.
It's always,
I got 4 years in council, I know it's early.
Councilman Velez,
Yes.
good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, man. How are you? Welcome aboard.
We have three. Thank you so much. We have three. Thanks for coming. Madam President, we can begin. We are live until we get a quorum. I'll do the roll call and I'll read a statement. But if you wish us to begin with the municipal court that was stated earlier, we make that. And
Madam Clerk, yes, let's begin on tonight. I thank everyone for coming. Madam Clerk, we have our mayor present. We have our Madam BA. We have Councilman Velez of the 5th Ward, Councilwoman Ruben Cotton of the 4th Ward, Corporation Council. Our department heads, our chief of staff is on. Madam Clerk, can we begin, please?
yes, Madam President, as you stated earlier, you'd like to begin with the municipal courts.
Yes.
And Madam BA stated that's on page 35 through 38. I do believe everybody has a copy, so you can go ahead.
Page 18 of 18 of the long sheets.
Okay.
Madam President,
Yes, Councilman Velez.
do we have the director of the court here?
Yes, we do. Director Killis and Chief Judge Abdelhadi is on as well.
That means we have to behave good.
I always behave good, so
Yes.
thank you for your personal reminder. Madam Clerk, can we begin, please, with our...
I think the BA, does the BA want to take over?
Before we start, I wanted the mayor to open up to
Okay.
tonight's meeting. So Mayor Andre Sayed, can you just give a few words to the public and to the council?
Thank you, Madam VP, and good evening, everyone. I'm here tonight to present my draft budget for the calendar year 2021. And first, let's look at the current fiscal year, the 6-month transition year. And the reversion to the calendar year will result in a surplus. So I want to thank the council members that supported the initiative to revert to the calendar year. And we'll be using some of the non-operating costs, like a portion of retirement payments in future budgets, and we won't have to budget for all that at all in the operating budget. And I'm proud to report that the current budget is on track. We're at 58% of the budget at the 60% point of the fiscal year, including overtime spending. And let's be real about overtime. Some is necessary, especially when there are vacancies and people are on leave, including coronavirus leave, or cyclical work within the tax office when bills are due. Budget office prep for these budget hearings. Recycling during the summer when there are lawn cuttings, in addition to cardboard. And also dealing with a increase in crime or quality of life issue. And then I'll concede that some overtime spending is wasteful, or it's just been the way that things have been done. And this is an area where we are focused on improving, and I believe we are improving. Now let's turn to this year. This is the first look at the budget. It's a living document. So we look forward to the feedback, and we will bring it forward for the budget introduction. We were here just a few months ago, so there are not many changes that were made, mostly in places where we see changes where we have to add back vacancies, and we had to remove last year because of the uncertainty. We didn't know how the pandemic would play out. And quite frankly, I'd like to use a quote relative to this budget. Don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget, and I'll tell you what you value. And we have to walk the line between the gradually decreasing amount of transitional aid and, quite frankly, not wanting to raise taxes. Well, here's what we value. We value addition to the city clerk staff. We value bringing in-house engineering so that more attention could be focused on projects. We value adding back librarians. We also value creating a position within Health and Human Services to deal with addiction, mental health, and homelessness. We also want to add a cashier for revenue collection. That's been a problem in the past. And finally, we want to add part-time housing and zoning inspectors for nights and weekends. So we've heard your requests, and we know you want to better serve all of our constituents, because quite frankly, that's primarily what we do. We serve those that put us in office. And so we put increases into your individual accounts. But the biggest change, and this is something we're proposing for a later hearing, is that we will be separating Parks and Recreation Division and creating its own department so it gets the attention that it deserves. We want to prioritize the parks, we want to prioritize recreation, especially now in the midst of a pandemic, and seeing that eventually we will be opening up again and we have to afford our youth opportunities to be active, lead healthy, and productive lifestyles. So we also plan to take revenue from our appearance on A&E's Live Rescue and dedicating it to a recreation trust fund. So we welcome the conversation, we welcome the debate. These documents will change between now and the introduction in early 2021. But in the midst of the discussion and the debate, we must remain professional and focused and not become personal in our commentary. And I also want to point out that eventually we're going to have to coalesce behind lobbying for additional federal aid, because quite frankly, we're still in a pandemic and we're still operating as if we were in a pandemic, but we're going to need funding to help us get through this pandemic. And so we're going to have to lean on whoever we have in Washington, whether it's our congressman or 2 United States senators, to make sure that the next iteration of the stimulus package helps us and includes direct aid to municipalities, because that's what's been proposed, and that's exactly what we need. So, Madam Vice President, thank you for affording me the opportunity to address the City Council.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, it appears that we have a quorum. I do see Councilwoman at Large, Marissa Davila. I do see Councilman Jackson. So, Madam Clerk, can we call this meeting to order? And can we call roll call since we are at a place of quorum?
Madam President, just 1 second, please. Councilman Velez is walking into. Okay. Roll call for municipal council budget hearings, October 23rd, 2020 at 5 p.m. Councilman Abdelaziz.
Madam Clerk, please. Councilman Abdelaziz is waiting for the host to let him into the meeting.
Okay, Sophia, do me a favor, please. Give me 1 second. Can you get one of the guys to get Councilman Abdelaziz on? They're on the other side.
Madam President, I was actually on hold as well, waiting to be let into the meeting, so not like we could just log in. I was on hold.
Thank you, Councilwoman Davila.
Okay. You want me to wait a few seconds?
You can come back to Councilman Abdelaziz.
Okay, all right. Roll call for municipal council budget hearings, October 23rd, 2020 at 5 p.m. Councilman Abdelaziz, Councilman Traherty, Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes. I'm sorry, here.
That's all right. Councilwoman Davila.
I'm present, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Councilman Jackson.
Here.
Thank you. Councilman Rivera. He's not here. Councilman Velez. I think he went over to his office.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Madam President.
Here, Madam Clerk. Is Councilman Abdelaziz on yet?
Oh, I have Sophia to go over to have one of the IT guys to help him.
Okay, we
All
can.
right, so I'll continue now.
Yes, Madam Clerk, will you please read the statement of compliance covering special meetings?
Sure, thank you. Meeting covered by 48-hour notice. Notice of the time, date, location, and agenda of this meeting was transmitted to the North Jersey Herald News, the Record, the Arabic Voice, the Italian Voice, Passaic County Pulse, Dominicana News, the Spader International, El Especial, the Paterson Press, the City Post News, Tap into Paterson, in addition to any other publication duly requesting such notices. Or about 11 a.m. on September 28, 2020, such notices were posted on the bulletin board in the offices of the city clerk at City Hall. Public notice. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, be advised that the Municipal Council of the City of Paterson has scheduled budget hearings to be held via WebEx/Zoom for the purpose of discussing calendar year 2021 municipal budget with various departments. And tonight, Friday, October 23rd, 2020, the departments are Administration, Municipal Court, Law, General Government. Thursday, October 29, 2020 at 5 p.m. The various departments are Police, Museum, Library, Department of Health and Human Services, Finance. And then Tuesday, November 17, 2020 at 5 p.m. Various departments will be Economic Development, Department of Public Works, and the Fire. Also, no formal action will be taken. And also, anyone who wishes to participate in the public portion may dial 973-321-1579 and enter code 8326. Press star 1 to listen to the meeting. Press star 2 to leave a recorded comment. And press star 3 to be added to the speaker list. I'll just repeat the number again for the public portion is 973-321-1579. And enter code 8326. Madam President, over to you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're
Madam A, can we start with Municipal Court?
Great, thank you, Council President. I'm gonna just do a real quick screen share, just to get us started.
The President is here.
These are the 4 topics that we're gonna be discussing this evening and are actually in your packets. Municipal Court is at the end, so we have pages 35 to 38, as well as the long sheets that have the year comparisons at page 18 of 18. So we just wanted to have the public be able to see just some of the specifics over the last couple of years. The column second from the right is what we're going to be talking about today. Our overall salaries and OE are listed there for a total of about 1.8 million. And you see it's pretty much on track for just some increases, fairly minor ones over these years. So what I'll do each time we talk about this, I'll start with this screen just to give people a chance to look at it, and they can always go back and review it. And then I'll pull the screen down so that you can see the faces of our department heads who are with us. And so today we do have the Director of the Court, Manny Velez, as well as our Chief Judge, who's been very involved in the conversations around it. So,
Is this the first one we're doing?
this is, Council President, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And all of these, in particular, the slides that we have in front of us are taken from from the long sheets that we provide you more detail. That also includes the transitional year. In the slides here, we took that out just because you're sort of comparing apples and oranges. We wanted to try to compare apples to apples to keep a kind of a clean look. But there is, in between the FY 2021 hearing, there's actually the introduced and the adopted budget for the TY year, the 6-month year. So this is just to kind of keep it a little not as confusing. So
Thank you, because I was thinking about the same thing, and I actually got my secretary to actually give me the budget documents, because the one that were provided, and I had the same issue last year, we're comparing, like you stated, what we requested in transition year budget, which we never have budget hearings, departmental budget hearings for the transition year budget, that's one. And also, we should compare, like you had in the screen right now, adopted versus proposed, just to keep it simple.
Right, so if you look at the long one, there's the kind of second packet. That's the one that shows, from 2017 onward, includes the transition year information, but it is just so that you're not comparing a 6-month to a 12-month exclusively. So if we want to go ahead and jump in, we can have the director lead us through the first page, page 35.
Good evening, everyone. Based on the
I'm sorry, Director, before you start, I'm a little lost. What are we looking at right now?
Page 35.
page 35,
Look,
Municipal court.
with the salaries,
that's the 35 on top.
Mine has a 1, that's what I'm asking.
No, but is there one in the left-hand side? It says municipal court in small lettering on top.
Or in the corner, it says 35.
Yeah, but let's just say that they didn't write it in her pocket, right? On the left-hand side of the document, it says municipal court.
Got it, got it.
Who's the host in this screen?
You are, I just changed it.
Yeah, I can't get my screen share. Hold on.
Council President, can I have, Mr. Ryan Yako, not Ryan, look at me,
Yeah, will you run it?
no. IT to come to my office and set me up in my computer. Thank you.
I heard you already.
You're talking about Ryan Foot.
I didn't want to say footy.
Ryan, did you go ahead?
Right, so,
Council President, I think you're. Yeah, you're okay, sir. We're moving.
so we can continue, Madam Clerk?
Yeah, so you can. We had to speak to Dr. Lim to get up and then you're the host now. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Director Keeler, so you can continue.
Council President, how you doing? Basically, the salaries are based on the contracts, okay, and the 3% and so on and so forth. We are, I did discuss this with my chief judge, of reducing one vacancy back to the city. You can jump in whenever you want, Judge. It's pretty straightforward.
Sorry. No, it's Zoom. We don't have Zoom now. I don't know where to get Zoom, where to get the Zoom. Oh, you got LP right now.
Council President?
Hold on, I'm just trying to get my mouse to work. Let me do
Sorry.
the list. Yes, go ahead,
Council President, if I may, Director, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Well, I see that you're saying that there was 2 vacancies and you want to just give one up and stay with one vacancy?
Yes.
Okay, and then I see there's a pending increase. Does that have anything to do with the decrease in the position to increase, that 1 court administrator?
Yes, that's, Judge, if you want to explain that to the councilwoman?
Yes, Councilman Velez, how are you? Yes, so our plan was to reduce the workforce, eliminate at least one of the vacancies that we have, and work with a limited workforce, limited at least to what we're used to. And the reason for the increase, at least with respect to this particular individual, is she's taking on much more than what she normally takes on. And really, she will do the work of at least 2 or 3 clerks as far as production-wise. So, and she is, comparatively speaking, for a court our size, vastly underpaid for that position. So it wouldn't affect the budget as far as salaries are concerned, we would be backing out one of the positions using a portion of that salary to give her an increase in her salary, really because of the amount of work that she does.
Okay, thank you, Chief Judge. Council President, just one more thing.
Sure.
So, Chief Judge, you just made a statement that, I would agree, you know, we are the third largest city, and we do have, I would think that, I would like to see, because of what you just said, is why get rid of a position? I understood why the increase, so I understood that, but I would say why take away if our court size requires for us to have, you know, these individuals, and we have had them in the past. You know, I just wanna know why the reduction of the position.
Fair enough. So far, obviously with the transitioning of the court system overall, we are managing to keep up with the work that we have. Everything for the most part has gone virtual except for limited types of cases. So with the staff that I have now, we are managing to keep up. I don't need to have the full amount of staff members that we've had in the past couple of years. So my plan really is to not necessarily work with, I forget what the number of positions we typically have, whether it's 30 or 29. I'd rather work with less and hopefully reward those that pick up more responsibilities and duties instead of having more that produce less, if that makes any sense. So to answer your question, yeah, we're the third largest court. I am managing with the staff that we have now. We still have vacancies that used to be filled. So those were positions where we actually had bodies there. But thankfully, with the staff that I have now, we are keeping up. Our backlog numbers are, except for those cases that are showing up on our backlog because of COVID-related issues, our numbers are good. So to answer your question, we are keeping up with the staff that we have.
Thank you.
Judge and Director, and Councilwoman Gillette next, and then Councilwoman Cotton. But the request we have here first before I ask you the question, I want to ask the administration, like, what is the purpose of comparing last year's request, right? You have three columns. Last year's request, which is irrelevant now, last year's request. It should be last year's adopted budget. The actual, that means it shows if you fill the positions that we actually budgeted for or not. And then the current request. Because to me, 2020, and we also have a line here for transition year budget, which is a 6-month budget in which we didn't have budget hearings, departmental budget hearings. So a suggestion, I think that column should have been adopted. But we're gonna work with what we have right now. I'm not saying we cannot continue to work. But in the future, please, it just doesn't make sense, because that's irrelevant what the request was from last year. So, Judge, the question I ask, and the Director, for both of you, do you actually have the resources here in place, in this budget, to actually improve any deficiencies in your operation? Because I understand you might have vacancies, but that's not the question. And you stated that you at least, managing what you have. What we need to know is, do you have enough personnel in place to improve the operation of the court? Because even when I worked in here as an internal auditor, there were some, deficiencies. A place that big is not gonna be 100% ever, I don't think. But we need to improve everything in the city. All I'm asking is, do you have the resources in place now in this budget request to address any issues that you have there in the courts?
I believe we do.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Judge.
Yeah, I would say for the time being, at least my analysis, I would say yes.
Okay.
Obviously, we've transitioned from in-person to virtual. We have vacancies available in case we need the additional help. But, keeping in mind that we are trying to be conservative with our budget, I'm not filling those vacancies. It's gonna be filled only if needed. And for really the reason is to take a more conservative approach with our spending and our salaries. I do have some staff that are tremendous at what they do. They have been very impressive in what they do. I know in the past, maybe there have been some deficiencies, but I've noticed with the approach that we've been taking in the last year and a half, the staff has improved as far as production is concerned and efficiency. So the resources, right now, yes. Obviously, that'll be adjusted if needed. With the changes that we will have in the near future when COVID is hopefully resolved. But as far as we stand now, to answer your question, yes, I think we have enough resources to help us get through.
Thank you, Judge. Councilwoman Velez.
Oh, just a request and then a question. So when reviewing the budget hearing documents for all the departments who are VA, when it comes to the contractual increases because of negotiations or what's in the contract, can you also make sure that in the budget hearings that it's attached or there's a footnote to say if there is an increase because of contractual is noted at the bottom of these documents, or if, I'm not sure how far things have been already done in advance, but just send a little footnote or an attachment to say that the percentage is a contractual increase based on negotiations. Second thing, I know Director Quillis, I asked this offline, but I wanted to bring it online as well. This is a revenue generating department and John. And so I would like to see comparables over the last 3 years. We're in the midst of a pandemic, and I'm sure, and I want to be confident in seeing it in writing, what the loss or gain due to the pandemic and how it will affect the city's bottom line. I don't know if you have that before you from last year till this year, what percentage of loss or gain that has occurred because of the pandemic to your department. And then that's something to our BA administration. This is something, especially in our revenue generating departments, it should be a question or it should be a factor when we're going into the budget hearing processes. So Director or Chief John, do you have an answer to that? Do you have any figures or percentages of variance?
Yes, I have that on file. I'll print it and send it to the DA's office so that she can forward it to you.
Okay.
That's not a problem.
And I think it was asked, so based on what has been presented, you believe that this budget will allow your department to function to full capacity until the next budget cycle?
Yes. Yes.
I would concur.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to, I'm not sure if it was asked for, if it was asked, the chief court clerk, you're looking to hire 2 new chief court clerks? Is that what you're looking for? Or are you looking to take your deputy court administrator and putting them into the chief?
Actually, yeah, sorry, Councilwoman, there was a revised one that was sent. I think that was the initial draft one, but for this one in particular, so that we had tossed around a couple of possibilities. Apologies for that. But
So I'm looking at the wrong one.
yeah, just for that, there were revisions to the court one.
Oh goodness.
But just to answer your question, in case you are wondering, we are not looking to add positions.
Okay.
We're not looking to add bodies in the court. So if anything, it would be promotions for those qualified staff members for that position.
So right now,
They would not be replaced. So, and this is in line with our plan as management. We really want to push those that are most productive, put them in demanding positions because they are capable of it, and not necessarily replace their seats. So, and that's what we've seen. We are relying on a handful of people to do a bulk of the work, which is, in a way it's bad, in a way it's good, but those people should be rewarded accordingly because of the production and the efficiency. So, for example, to play it out a little further, if we had 2 DCAs that were promoted to, for example, a chief clerk position, their DCA seat would not be filled by someone else.
Right. Oh, okay, but
Right, so that chief clerk would actually do the work of the DCA plus more.
okay, what they do now, but if I'm looking at this, I know what the deputy court administrator is, I know what the director of the court, I know who he is, I know the chief judge, who's the, I know not, they're not gonna talk about me, but I'm looking at municipal court administrator, I mean, you see what you're jumping her, or him, or her up to, you see it?
Yes.
Her name is Beverly Valentine.
Yeah, but I'm saying, did you talk about the jump, or you didn't say anything about that yet?
Yes, I think. You want to elaborate again, Judge?
Yes, I did touch upon the request for the increase. That was a question I believe Councilman Rivera asked initially.
Okay.
That is our court administrator. She is the top, as far as court administration, she's the top clerk, if you want to put it that way, in our court. So she has been phenomenal. Her name is Beverly Valentine. Again, her production is equal to the work of maybe 5 clerks, and it's not an exaggeration. So because of that, and I had explained that because we're the 3rd largest court, if you want to compare someone in her position with the equivalent of the same person in Newark Municipal Court of Jersey City, she's probably half the salary of what they get paid, if I were to ponder a guess. So a $10,000 increase, as requested by management, by me and the director, is really a modest increase compared to, in the end, with the $10,000 increase, she would still be grossly underpaid as far as a court administrator, and I can't afford to lose someone like Beverly Valentine with our current operation.
If I can elaborate as well, us being the 3rd largest court at 544 municipal courts, everyone from judges on down, we're all the lowest paid in the state.
That's interesting you get there, just like that for a while. You had a lot of council people that came through here that probably could have gotten your salaries up, but it wasn't. But I need to ask that, now, I want to ask about the supervisor and the cashiers. There's only one person, so where are the other cashiers? Do they do more than one thing, like take the keyboard clerk, are they considered cashiers too?
Cashiers, they're at the window, taking payments and so on and so forth. When there isn't anybody at the window, then they're entering tickets and so on and so forth. So they do data entry as well, not only just cashiering.
Are they located in keyboard clerk? Is that where they located?
No, they're cashiers.
Well, I see one cashier, that's what I see.
If you look on page 37, they're the first 3.
I still got the wrong thing, huh? Okay. Okay.
They're the first 3.
Right. Yeah, so, it's just about being treated fairly for everyone that's working in.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you look at
And just so we're clear, Councilwoman Cotton, my court administrator did not request or demand any increase. And Director Velez is correct. Across the board, the staff and the judges in our municipal court are grossly underpaid. But just to not, seem selfish about it, I'm not making a request to increase any of the judges' salaries or the director at this point. I really want to make sure that the hardest of the workers that we have are rewarded for the work that they are doing.
It just gets to the point from last year, and I compared this year because of the epidemic. Last year alone, I turned over to the city close to $5 million.
I see that in the budget, in the other budget document. It went from like $1 million something to like $5 million. I think that's what I was looking at. I think from 3 to 5. I gotta check the number. But you finished, Councilman Khan?
Yes, I'm finished, Council President.
So looking at page 37, real quick before you go, Councilman Velez. Page 37, you have the same person twice.
Where?
Santana, she's there twice.
No, there's two Santanas.
All right, that explains it. Councilman Velez.
Ruby, and can you mute your microphone because the sound outside is coming in?
This is muted.
Okay, thank you. You know, I'm trying to make my notes here while the director, unfortunately, informal starting. I was expecting, being a director of the courts for many, many years, he at least addressed the whole entire council when he introduced himself as director. He just went and addressed the council president. How are you doing, council president? We are
My
a body.
apologies, but my apologies.
Let me finish, sir.
Sure.
Let me finish, please.
Related to the budget.
Yeah, it's related, because presentation for me is a must. So, if you're gonna sit down here, and you're gonna approve a budget, and you're gonna present the end, here, guys, hey, guys, here. You know, let's act professional. He's professional, so let me act professional. Thank you, Council President.
Do you have anything pertaining to the budget, Councilman Velez?
Yes, and I have a lot. If you wanna rush it, we can rush it, Council President, but I have a lot. So don't rush it. This is money, this is taxpayer money here, okay? Thank you.
Please.
Thank you. And I hope you don't throw me out of the meeting today.
Behave, let's act
No,
professional.
I'm not a kid. I'm not a kid,
Let's continue.
all right? So,
Start already, let's continue.
Mr. Director,
Yes, sir.
I was saying I was expecting at least a synopsis of where you was 4 years ago and where you're taking this department and where we at and where you want to take it. You know, not a lot of us had the opportunity to have a conversation with you in your goals, your vision with this court. You know, and some people,
Councilman,
so let me.
that has never been brought up to this process.
So let me continue, please. So, Director, I have a couple questions, and I hope my council president allow me to participate. Because, well, you can get it from me if I don't get my answers, my question answered, a no to the budget. And I don't have no problem with that. But don't come to me and say that I'm not cooperating, but I want to get answers. We're here for a hearing to avoid the long meetings in the regular meetings. So Director, how many employees worked it when there was a pandemic or in the middle of the pandemic?
In the middle of the pandemic, we were alternating them coming in every other day.
Or there was essential employees to come in to work into the courthouse?
Yes.
How many roughly, you could tell me?
Well, I have a total of 37,
37?
and we were alternating them every other day.
And they have, and also there was mandatory to work at the courthouse while pandemic, correct?
Yes.
Correct. Now, I see in the budget here, I see the council president probably gonna say it's not related, but that's why I'm trying to elaborate to be able to talk about the budget, Mr. Finance Chair and President. I see that your personnel is increased by 9.7.
The personnel increased?
Yes.
Justify what you're looking at right now?
Yes. Right now, look at page 35.
Okay.
You're increasing your personnel from 37 to 43.
Maybe you have 43.
Will you see that?
Oh, this is the document that they gave me, ladies and gentlemen. Look, this page.
So look at the bottom in the middle. It says
So hold on.
37 to 40, Councilman.
37 to 39.
No, 37 to 40.
But, so they gave me the wrong one then.
Oh,
So
we gave does yours have a revised at the bottom?
no, mine is, listen, man, this is the first.
You get Councilman Velez a revised copy.
See? right? So I'm talking based on this, right?
Mr. President,
President, I don't have a revised copy neither.
okay, Mr. President and Councilman Velez,
Yeah.
the folder is somewhere on your desk. One of the ladies, I think, gave it to you or left it on your desk.
Oh, this
And
is
the
a
others,
folder?
and the others were sent, I'm gonna run over there in a few. The others were sent to all the council members' home, the revised one. Councilman, they're coming over with a copy for you, or try to find it. Phyllis is on her way. Thank you, Mr.
Or
President.
at least a revised folder, because I don't see it.
She's coming over, sir.
Let me get your revised folder. Any other council member?
No, hold on, I could continue with my question. No, hold on, Council President, hold on, because I could finish. I don't wanna go back and forth with you, today, trust me. This is the only folder I have here in my desk. So if you invite me to this council's, hearings, I wanna get my question across.
Councilman, you wanna get to speak, they wanna give you the actual.
No, I got it, all right, I got it.
If you-
Fast, yes. My questions still are gonna be directed to the director. So you increased your other expenses also for for 100% your expenses.
Councilman, let me interrupt you real quick.
So,
This is
here
what-
we go.
Please.
There you go.
That's why
That's why.
administration, they used to transition your budget. It says 58,000. You just double it up. So you see what I was saying before, that the format is not helpful for us to go through this. They didn't increase 100%. What happened is, we had a 6-month budget. What the administration should have done for this presentation is grab the budget year that ended in June 30th, and that should have been the column that should have been used, right? Because we didn't even have budget hearings for departments for the 6-month budget. We should have used the one that ended June 30th. So Councilman, you're correct what you're looking at, but that's why I said that this document is not very helpful, for the eye, because you have 6-month budget on one side, and you're comparing a 12-month request on the other. That's why
President,
it's an increase. Yes.
Council President, Councilman Velez, I know you were speaking, but should we then, because, we're gonna be confronting this with everything that was prepared for today, should we then, I would reconsider having another day where we can have the actual, as you were speaking, in terms of having, I would recommend that we do that. I don't know if the rest of the council feels that way, but I'd like to look at an actual, instead of me trying to go back and forth and, look at a full year when it's a half year.
Yeah, because everybody gonna think that I don't know what I was talking about, and I'm talking
No,
based on the
Councilman
numbers.
Velez, don't think that at all, Councilman Velez. I think that you,
Correct, Councilman, I say you were correct. I want to hear the VA's take, but I'm in agreement, with you, Councilwoman Davila. We shouldn't have to stay here and start adding, with a calculator to see, what the difference is.
Sure.
VA, please.
Sure, Council President, if I can just note that the way that it's done is because it's using your most recent budget year, even though that was just the transition year. But what we tried to do, is if you look at the top, the salaries are all the same because it has the full salary of the person in the top section. So all the salary and wages are the same. If you look at the OE, that is where what was discussed was cut in half. That's also why this spreadsheet was created, because it really shows it gives you a really comprehensive look that includes the transition year, and it includes expended year to date, which is something that was always requested, that we wanted to make sure was included. So,
The only reason I'm hesitant to continue, I'll tell you why. Yesterday in the personnel committee meeting, we asked Lydia, I actually made a statement because that's how it was sold to me. When you guys put the 6-month budget together, it was actually gonna be half, and why is the margin here today? She's still out sick?
yes, Marge sent an email late in the day that she couldn't attend.
Okay, so just so you know, we were told that this budget, we didn't have to drill the 6-month budget because what we were gonna do was take half of the previous year's budget. But then when I said that to Lydia yesterday in the personnel meeting, she says, well, not necessarily. So I feel more comfortable, with all due respect, Madam Villa, you gotta understand where I'm coming from, not to give you guys a hard time. I wanna see the budget that was adopted, that ended June 30th, right? So that column that says, instead of 2020 requests, we want to see 2020 adopted, right? The adopted budget, because request is irrelevant from last year. So 2020 adopted, 2020 actual, the fiscal year, and then we compare it to the calendar year, which is not 12 months, 12-month period, it's the same thing. I just
So
don't,
I know some of that information is here. Do you see it says 2020 adopted?
yeah, but now we're going, it's not relevant, I'll tell you why. You have the 2020 request, that's the positions you requested. I remember making some recommendations to take some off. Right? And it wasn't in transition year because you didn't never submitted a request in transition year. We never have budget hearings, so transition year request is non-existent. We never have budget hearings.
Right, what we had was, we had the budget hearing, we were still in conversation about doing a transition year, so our fiscal year, it was fiscal year 2021 hearing is what was split in half to become our transition year.
So if you don't mind, Madam VA, that's just plugging in numbers. You shouldn't say, I have the actual budget from last year here. That's 30th, right? Just plugging in information, the actual adopted budget.
Well, that I think that, and I'll let Lydia explain this a little bit, because I know she has been talking to the finance team, because the finance team does the adopted budget piece, and we did the introduced budget piece. So Lydia, do you want to jump in?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Council President. The long sheet does have all of the budgets. It has 17 adopted and expended, 18 adopted expended, 19 adopted expended, fiscal 20 adopted expended, and the way that it was proposed in fiscal 21. And if it would have been adopted the way that it was presented to the council, including some of the changes that Marge did do before the final adoption of TY20, it was virtually cut in half. So if we put in the fiscal 2021, if it was, let's say, at that time adopted, that is what you will be seeing in the long sheet. So we did put all of the documentation together for all of the years, including fiscal 21.
Yeah. I agree with you. We have all the information, but in 3 different documents. Right now, we're looking at 3 different budgets. We're supposed to have a comparison right now of 2 budgets, right? Last year's adopted with this year's proposed. Last year's request is irrelevant because we made some changes to the request. That request.
What you're asking us, Council President, what you're asking us to do is to compare it, not with the one that would have been adopted in July or for July of this year, but you're asking us to compare it to a year prior. So any changes on that, it's not like comparing it apples to apples. What I can do for you, if you think that it would help, I can actually make these budget sheets to reflect the actual amount for fiscal 21, so you can compare it to what it would have been adopted at.
Yeah. June 30th, right? June 30th of this year, which was 4 or 5 months ago. Let me see, July, August, September, October, 4 months ago. That's the budget that I want to compare, the one that ended June 30th of this year. Very simple, right? Let's not reinvent the wheel. June 30th of this year. Now, if we would have never had a transition year, we would probably be talking about, in April when we met, it was for the new fiscal year budget, right? The new fiscal year budget that we had to actually stop because now we got into a transition. But the one that will be the most relevant is the one that ended in June 30th because it just ended 3 months ago. So that's
the request for I'm sorry, Councilman, the Council President, the request for fiscal 21, then you won't even be able to make a distinguishing factor of what was actually proposed for fiscal 21 compared to what is going to be. I'm sorry?
But we never had meetings for the transition year 6-month budget.
But we did have meetings for fiscal 21.
Okay.
Which the only difference was that it was cut in half.
Yeah, the fiscal 21 budget was put together based on based on the one that ended June 30th. It's the same thing. That budget that we were going to have for fiscal 21 was put together based on the June 30th of the budget that ended June 30th. It's the same thing, Lydia.
So, Council President.
It really isn't. It really isn't, because we are comparing to a prior year. We're not comparing to what was presented to you before the council for 2021. If you would like for me to do these sheets to make it reflect fiscal 20, I can do that for you guys.
Lydia, let me ask you a question right now. If we never would have done the transition year budget that we're doing right now, which budget we would have been working on right now? Fiscal year 2021, right?
We would have been doing fiscal 21.
Yes, when we did fiscal 21, which budget did we use to compare? The one that ended June 30th?
That's right, but we're going to be excluding the requests from 2021. As I said, Council President, I can make these sheets reflect any information that you desire. If you wish for these budget sheets to be presented as fiscal 2020 as adopted, I have absolutely no problem doing that.
No, but what I need you to do is, instead of having a column for request for transition year 20, right? Just use adopted fiscal year 20, right? Adopted, it's just a 6-month difference. This budget that we're on right now wasn't even put with we didn't have budget hearings for this one. We had it for the fiscal year, so you probably use those conversations to put it together. I understand. But for the purpose of this meeting, to have a comparison, let's do the June 30th. Basically, we're doing this twice. We did the same meetings we're having right now. We did it in May of last year to have a fiscal year budget. So we're just doing it twice because we have to. We have another budget coming up in January. It's basically almost the same presentation, almost. You know, it might change because you want to have different positions in some departments. But this presentation should be almost the same as the one that we discussed back in maybe March, April. You recall, right, Madam Dean?
That's right, yep, Council President, it is, and that's what the mayor noted in the beginning.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Very similar, yeah.
It should be almost the same. So so that way we wouldn't have 6 years, you know, like in the OE. I know what you guys did for the salary, but let's just use adopted numbers now that we have them, and change the columns. You know, the way I stated before. I don't want to repeat myself.
Council President, look, if I see this sheet, right?
Yeah.
I see this sheet, right? And I'm going by this sheet. I see fiscal year 2021, right? And I see 1,768,353, right? And then I go here, calendar year 2021 today hearing, right? So I see 1,816. So for me, there's an increase. You understand what I'm saying? If I'm gonna read this paper.
Well, so to Lydia's point, we're not comparing right now the actual budget documents, because that would throw it off because the levy for the 6 months increased a little. So you are going to have some categories that are higher. But for the purpose of doing budget hearings, which is what we're doing right now, it is relevant to compare the budget that ended June 30th with the one that we want to do for this January 1st. And I see what you're saying, but we're not comparing the actual budget document verbatim, line by line, you know, revenue by revenue, expenditure by expenditure. No, we're doing budget hearings right now. We're addressing the needs of the departments. And so, Madam DA, if you don't mind, you know, that wasn't the intent for us to cancel this, but when I was reviewing this, I said, you know what? Some council members, like I didn't mind, you know, putting a calculator, but it's just, in the meeting, you want to help the discussion. So if you don't mind, could we have this meeting for this department another day, if you guys don't mind?
Yeah, that would be good.
So all of the departments that were scheduled for today.
Correct.
Correct. And
Okay, so
the ones that we're doing next, we also got to change those.
right, so all of those documents, we were gonna be giving them to you on Monday. I don't know if, Lydia, you tell me what you think in terms of, can we have them do we need to change the dates? Because we have to,
Let's change those.
We absolutely are going to have to change all of the dates because I'm about 95% done with the other one that I was presenting. I think that for comparison, Council President, maybe I can add another column into the long sheet to show the increases or decreases for the salaries based off of the fiscal year 20. I think would be a lot easier and less time consuming than changing the actual budget books. Because the other one is more just an Excel document where I can just maneuver some of the numbers and have the actual calculation. What is extremely time consuming are the budget books.
No, but we're talking about this sheet right here. This
Yes, that document, that's the one that we call our budget book. That document does take a lot more time than the long sheets. If you're looking to compare to see what was adopted in 20 to what is being proposed for calendar year 21, I can move some of those columns over and do those calculations for you all, even now, and send it via email. I would just need maybe 20 minutes to do that, whereas the actual budget books will take a very long time.
Well, I need to see what is actually done, to be honest, because I'm looking at the spreadsheets right now, right? And maybe you have other schedules that are attached to this, maybe that's why you're saying that. But what I'm looking at right now is 3 columns, right? You have multiple columns that you just have to change the heading. You could probably leave the salaries, they're probably the same, the salaries.
They're not the same, they're different. All of the salaries are different, the request for fiscal 20 is different, the actuals will stay the same based off of what we currently have. The current year will stay the same, but all of the other documentation will have to be added in. If there were positions that were backed out, that for calendar year, that were budgeted in fiscal 20, then I would have to add those in too. So it would be a lot more adding in.
Can I ask a question? When do people, I know it's probably during different times of year, but most of the people in the city, when do they get the increases usually?
Well, in this case, we're still under union negotiation. So as soon as, let's say we were under union negotiation, it would be in July.
So July you get an increase. So how about you just have a column, right? A column with the increase that will given to each person, and that should equal your numbers.
I wish it were that easy. It really is not. If you would like to come to our office maybe on Monday so we can sit down and talk about this and have everything exactly how you would like to see it, I have no problem with that. But it's not that easy.
You know why it shouldn't be that difficult? Because you could get that printout from your payroll department, right?
No, I have to use the budget book that was presented for the council.
I remember.
For the adoption.
I remember your list of salaries are never 100% equivalent to what your budget is. Normally, your budget is a little higher, just a little bit higher. So they're never going to be exactly the same, just so you know. Like if you grab a list of every employee, even for any department, you normally, budget is a plan, right? If your budgets are 100,000, you normally have a little wiggle room because you also have overtime there also. And you have, you're gonna have salary increases, especially now, if your increases take place in July, and we're gonna be on a calendar year, you have to take those.
Right, now let's say, in this council president, if we had some staff members, let's use the municipal court as an example. If we had staff members that were currently here physically in fiscal 20 and are no longer here, those numbers are completely different. So I would have to run a report to find out exactly who was in that seat in 20 to pull their salary in order to make sure that the numbers reflect what was truly budgeted for, which in this case I would use a previous budget book that I used.
I want to ask the last question to the DA and to yourself. So the purpose of this meeting is, we always have a conversation. I've been here 2 years and I ask the same question. Department heads supposed to put a budget together, a list of all their employees and their budget together, right? Depending on the directive that's given by the administration. For example, if the administration tell all their department heads, keep your budget on the 2%, let's say, then they have to keep it on the 2%. Either they have to cut, so they submit a budget to you. This is how it's supposed to work, right? They're supposed to submit a request to the administration. Now, the administration looks at this request and they make a recommendation, and that's what's presented to us, right? We shouldn't have in this document, it should be a simple document. We shouldn't have here on top all these numbers and then, we deducted it in the bottom. No, just tell us what you're requesting. Just tell us what you're requesting us. We don't even need to know, to be honest. That's a conversation between the administration and your department. hear me out. You and the department make a decision of what plan you're gonna submit to the council. Now, the council having a conversation, and you can bring anything else up, but we shouldn't have so many figures. It should be a simple.
I agree. Council President, I agree. All of what you are seeing is a combination of what needs to be shown and also the request from the council from the last maybe 6 years. Since I've been doing the budget process here with the administration, maybe as far back as 2015, there have been certain requests provided by each council member. So what we tried to do was embed as much information as we can so everything is transparent and you know exactly how many positions are there, how many they're requesting, how many they actually want to fill.
Remove the position. What I'm saying is, why should...
I'm saying that document.
Yeah, but I've been telling you for 2 years now, and I've been the chair for 2 years, to try to simplify it more. Like you're comparing last year's request with, you're giving last year's request instead of putting the actual what we approved, right? We didn't care about the request. If we cut 3 positions last year, that request is irrelevant to us. Right? That's approved, actual, because the approved is going to show you that what we budgeted for, example, recycling. My first year here, we approved for the administration to hire staff in recycling. So you will have that in the first column, right? Where it says 2020 request, you will have 2020 actual. The next column, it will be actually adopted, 2020 adopted, 2020 adopted. Then in the 2020 actual will show that which positions were like, at the end of the year, before this budget was put together, how many positions are actually filled. And then 2021 will show the request. And that will be more helpful to us because right now you're putting the request from like 2 years ago that maybe we cut some positions already.
No, that's not what is shown here. This is truly what is being requested.
We don't need to see, okay. Can we continue here? Can we, listen, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Council President, as I suggested, I think I agree. I don't know if the rest of my colleagues do, but I think that, this should be updated and we should reschedule.
Move to adjourn.
Council President, isn't the information on the long sheet, or we can't use it?
No,
It is. All of that is on the long sheet.
Why we can't use the long sheet?
We have 3 different sets of documents. Why
We
can't
have two sets.
Different? I mean, we got the long sheet, we got
we're
the,
working with 3 budgets now? That's what I'm saying.
we got the long sheets, we got this sheet.
Council,
We can't look at this sheet?
Councilwoman Cotton, you have several council members expressing concern.
Okay, but I'm asking you a question. We can't go by the long sheet?
We could do a lot of things. I could put out a calculator.
The long sheet has all the information.
Council President, point of order.
3, 4 years on here.
Council President.
You have a second?
Second, I already said.
Council President, you need to adjourn without a public portion.
All right, so we do a public portion and then adjourn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, let's go from the public portion.
No, we have a public portion that we, let me just check.
So Council President, can we make sure that maybe you come in here on Monday if we can schedule it so that we go through exactly what's required? Because I think, this is exactly how we presented it last year. So that, just to make sure that we get what you need.
But this year, we will continue even with this format. Everyone, if you ask 100 people to present a budget presentation, they're all gonna make it different. I'm not saying
Right.
it's inaccurate. This year, we're gonna proceed, it's not because I don't like it, it's because you use a 6-month budget and you turn it. You get my point, I'm not gonna.
All right, and I understand that, Council President. I think that the challenge is that we have to show that budget because that's where the positions are right now. So we can't show the year before because the positions might have changed. We have to show who the people are that are employed by the city, and that's in our TY budget. But that's really why we provided this, so that you can compare the numbers across the board.
I got you, I understand what you're saying, Madam BA, but does everything change so much in 3 months?
Some of it has, because if you look, for example, on the court, those vacancies were there before, and we backed them all out. But this year, we're only backing out 30,000.
I understand, we're gonna work with you to to get this process through. It's not to give you a hard time, but I just have some concerns that we have to go back and forth, with a 6-month budget. And the thing that gets me, it's not that difficult, like Councilwoman Cotton stated. We could just look at the long sheets. The problem that we have here is that in the last personnel meeting, what I was told before, and that's why we didn't have a discussion.
Aló,
Mr.
Hold on,
President,
hold on a minute. We didn't have a discussion.
trabajando aquí como siempre.
Please,
No paro.
Councilman Velez speaking.
Can you mute yourself?
Oh,
We did it purposely. But check this out. So, what I'm basically saying, Madam Mayor, when the transition year budget that we approved was presented to us, and I wish we could go to the tape, we were told that we basically grabbed half of last year's budget and moved it forward, with the increase with the levy that we had. We had a small increase in the levy, 2%. But that's what we were told.
No, we said it was half of the hearing, not the half of the not half of the fiscal 20 budget, half of the hearing, right, what we presented at hearing.
So half of the hearing.
Yeah.
Well, if you took half of the hearing then, just present then, if that's the numbers that you actually use, those council members, just so you know, we're doing this twice. We did these hearings already. Back in April, but since we switched years, we're doing it again.
Right,
So why can't we bring, I know they have changed because you probably hired some people.
right.
The plan that you use is what we actually discussed in the previous hearings.
Well, this is very similar, so that's why we would only be going through and showing how, if there's any changes to what was already done for the transition
So
year.
let's do that, council members. So
Because that's,
we
yeah,
already had budget hearings. Why can't they bring back, we already approved, basically, back in March and April, we already approved, we discussed with them the budget for all these departments already that was supposed to start on July 1st and carry us until June 30th of 2021. We just have to do this again because we have a budget that's gonna start in January.
so,
Can we use those numbers, Madam BA?
mhm.
Just to simplify it, can we use those numbers from that previous report? Why can't we use that, the presentation that you had?
To confirm, Council President, you're requesting to show fiscal 2021 as presented in the hearing because it's half of the transition, because the transition year is half of that.
No, I'm requesting it, there's no major changes in your plan, because the plan cannot change that drastically, right? The plan that you submitted back in March and May was a plan that you're supposed to start using in July 1st. And we're only 3 months into the year. So what I'm basically saying is, it might make sense, but it might not. You gotta tell me that, that's your responsibility. I don't know how much your plan has changed. If your plan has not changed a lot, you could use that information and just make whatever changes you need to make.
Council President, all of the changes, all of the requests for all of the directors have changed from 20 to 21 and for calendar year 21.
Okay, so let's make the change then, that's fine. Let's do what.
What I,
are we doing public portion, right?
Yeah, let's do the public portion, so we can close it.
Thank you, yes.
President, may I just, repeat the number? And give them like another minute or so? Is that okay with you, sir?
Yes.
Okay. The public portion is now open. The number to dial is 973-321-1579. Enter code 8326. 973-321-1579. Enter code 8326. Press star 1 to listen to the meeting. Press star 2 to leave a recorded comment. And star 3 to be added to the speaker list. Mr. President, I'm going to set the clock for maybe a minute to see if anyone calls. There's no one at this point, but I'm just going to give them some more time.
So let's give them a few minutes.
Okay. Maybe 2 minutes is good?
Yes.
Okay, sir. I'll start the clock now. Thank you.
From time to time, if you don't mind.
Okay. The number for the public portion is 973-321-1579. Enter code 8326. Press star 1 to listen to the meetings. Star 2 to leave a recorded comment, and Star 3 to be added to the speaker list. Let's give them a copy. Public portion is now open. If anyone is interested to participate in the public portion for our budget hearing, you can dial 973-321-1579. Enter code 8326. Press star 1 to listen to the meeting. Press star 2 to leave a recorded comment. And star 3 to be added to the speaker list.
So someone will,
It's not 2 minutes yet, sir.
I know.
30 seconds.
I'm just speaking briefly. So Judge, it's funny, I'm looking at the budget that ended June 30th, right, of this year. And the salaries that were adopted for you guys is 1,505,325 adopted. But then we have some transfers in there, so you ended up with a budget of 1,575,000. You only spent 1,511,000. I'm looking at the actual budget document, not those sheets. I'm looking at the actual budget document that reflects expenditures as of June 30th. But in your request, you actually have 1,688,000. So that's actually an increase. But you see where I'm getting at, guys?
I don't know if that's, part of that is when you're talking about expended and because we didn't go through the contract negotiations, they didn't complete by then, that money was not spent, but it was included in the budget because of when the contract negotiations were going on. So I don't know if that's part of what you're looking at.
No, I'm not criticizing. What I'm saying is that you get a better sense of what we actually, when you use the adopted numbers, right? You get a better sense. I'm looking at the actual budget document, right? The actual budget documents. And while somebody call, I'm gonna look at, just pick any other department and just look at the difference.
Right, that's why we tried to provide all this information on for each department on the long sheet too. Because that's there as well, what was, actual 2020, appropriated 2020, that would have been the adopted budget. It's hard, this first year is gonna be difficult because we really are trying to put a square peg in a round hole. We're trying to look at who we have now, but unfortunately that's only in the 6-month budget. We're trying to give you all that other data so you can compare
Council President,
what it would be like.
Council President, any chance that she could save all this narrative when really we are discussing the budget? Because I'm not paying attention, I'm going back and forth, and I'm losing probably some point here.
I know, but we're just having a conversation, Councilman.
That's all we wait to see. We can wait to see if anybody gonna call in, Councilman. That's all we waiting for.
But they already announced about 5 minutes.
All right. Do we have a call in?
No, Mr. President, there's no one for the public portion at this time.
So, we have a roll call to close the meeting?
Did we have a motion on the floor, please?
Second.
Move to close the public portion of our budget hearing?
Councilwoman Davila, and there a second?
I'll second it.
Council President Rivera. Okay, roll call to close the public portion of for the budget hearing. Councilman Abdulaziz? Okay. Councilwoman Khan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davila?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Councilman Nance?
Yes.
Thanks. Councilman Velez?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Motion to close?
The vote is,
Second.
may I announce the votes for this, please?
I'm sorry, Madam Clerk.
That's okay. The vote is 6 in favor, 2 absent, let the record reflect the third ward is vacant, therefore the public portion is now closed.
Move to close
Second.
the meeting?
and Councilman Velez.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Yes. Roll call to close the budget hearings of October 23rd, 2020. Councilman Abdelaziz? Okay, Councilwoman Khan?
Move the, Madam Clerk, my vote is no. I think that we can move forward with this, with the information we got, so my vote is no, Madam Clerk.
No to close the meeting, is that what you're saying?
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Davila?
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Mapes?
Well, I'll say it was good to see, Chief John and Director Killer, so I guess we'll see you again. So it's a plus. My vote is yes.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Velez?
You know, looking at the comments that we have in YouTube, you know, we're not doing a good presentation, both sides. The show might not go on. We should be getting ready for them, the taxpayers, so my vote is yes.
Thank you. Mr. President?
Yes.
Thank you. The vote is 5 in favor, 1 against, 2 absent. The record reflects the third one is vacant. Therefore, the Municipal Council budget hearing for October 23rd, 2020 is hereby adjourned. Good night, everyone, and thank you so much.
Good night.
Professionalism, Judge and Administrator.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Yeah, good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Be safe.
Okay, you too.